A friendly whale approached people in Norway. Then they spotted the high-tech harness he was wearing. The waves parted with a flash of white, catching the fisherman's attention. Was it a shark? No. The friendly grinning face peering out from the depths washed Joar Hesten's concerns away. It was a beluga whale, which was a rare sight in these waters. But the object strapped to its body was even rarer. Was that a harness? And there was something on it. Beluga whales are native to high Arctic waters, so why was one staring expectantly at Norwegian fishermen just off the coast of Ingoya village in 2019? Perhaps it had something to do with the belt strapped around its body. Getting a closer look at the device just raised further questions, though. The happy visitor was genial enough, but was it hiding a secret as dark as the waters it was swimming in? 3 simple words Hesten saw on the belt troubled him. Equipment St. Petersburg. That meant that the beluga hailed from Russia, a country known for using creatures like whales and dolphins in warfare. Even if the boat's visitor was friendly, that wasn't to say there was something much more dangerous hidden on the belt concealed by the waters. Or maybe the beluga whale was more of a passive threat, carrying some kind of hidden camera. There may have been spying eyes peering at Hesten's vessel, watching him with equal curiosity while he observed the whale. To complicate matters, the creature seemed to be trying to get the crew's attention, as if it wanted something. Was it looking for help? There was only one way to find out. You may know the beluga is Hvaldimir, and if you've seen any videos of him on social media, they do circulate now and then. You'll know that his amicable behavior is now famous. He loves people and often looks for them when he's been alone for too long. Hesten didn't recognize the whale. After all, he wasn't famous online at this point, but he did think it was in trouble, possibly caught in some dangling ship straps. Hesten contacted an expert and sent pictures to a marine biologist called Audun Rikardsen, who in turn called seafaring inspector Jorgen Ree Wigg of the Norwegian Directorate of Fisheries. In 2021, Wigg told the BBC, "I saw the whale, thinking this is really something. I knew this situation was quite unique. The harness was of particular interest. According to Rikardsen, Hvaldimir's harness was attached really tight around its head, in front of its pectoral fin, and it had clips. In fact, while Hvaldimir had initially appeared to be trapped, he was actually trying to escape the harness off his body. It wasn't good," Hesten told Oceanographic magazine. "I thought that the whale was probably going to die a terrible death." With this in mind, Hesten realized that there was no more time to waste. He grabbed a survival suit to protect himself against the freezing Norwegian waters and plunged into the sea to help free Hvaldimir. The beluga was more than happy to be rid of his harness, but little did the fisherman know that while immediate danger had passed, Hvaldimir was still in peril. When experts investigated the harness, they discovered its mysterious message pointing fingers, rightly or wrongly, at the Russian government. The label was printed out on an empty GoPro mount, the whereabouts of the camera unknown. Was Hvaldimir a spy? There was certainly precedent for it if history was anything to go by. Norway's domestic intelligence agency even investigated the matter. The agency said, "The whale is likely to have been part of a Russian research program." They weren't the only ones who had come to this conclusion too, with Rikardsen telling the BBC, "A Russian colleague said they don't do such experiments, but she knows the Navy has caught belugas for some years and trained them. Most likely it's related to that." And it's certainly true that Russia's also been under fire previously for its infamous whale pens at naval bases near Murmansk. Meanwhile, Colonel Viktor Baranets of the Russian military denied their involvement. In an interview, he said, "If we were using this animal for spying, do you really think we'd attach a mobile phone number with the message, 'Please call this number'?" Colonel Baranets continued, "We have military dolphins for combat roles. We don't cover that up. In Sevastopol, we have a center for military dolphins trained to solve various tasks from analyzing the seabed to protecting a stretch of water, killing foreign divers, attaching mines to the hulls of foreign ships. Russia isn't the only country engaging in such practices either." The U.S. Navy employs sea creatures too. San Diego is home to a Navy marine mammal program, which specializes in training seals and dolphins for military action. They're generally used to detect underwater threats, be they vehicles, people, or objects such as mines. In fact, during the Iraq War in the year 2000, dolphins played a pivotal role in clearing underwater explosives. Reflecting their suspicions, the beluga's researchers called him Hvaldimir, a tongue-in-cheek combination of Hval, which means whale in Norwegian, and the tail end of Vladimir Putin's name. In the face of Russia's denial, the mystery is that Hvaldimir deepened. And even though he'd been rescued from the harness, the beluga wasn't out of the proverbial woods just yet. His survival was still in the balance. But who would possibly want to hurt something as adorable as Hvaldimir? He's not just a cutie with his big smile and kind eyes, he's also a very sociable creature, like all beluga whales. But since Hvaldimir seeks out interactions specifically with people, it seems that he's been trained by someone. You may have seen some of his viral videos online. He's very popular now. Did you ever hear about the beluga whale who retrieved a cell phone someone dropped in the sea? Well, experts believe it was Hvaldimir. He enjoys playing fetch and catch, and not just with humans. Witnesses have also seen him playing with a seagull and bringing the bird a fish it had dropped. In 2019, the appropriately named aquatic mammal researcher Quad Finn told news website The Independent this was trained behavior. Quad told the website that this was not natural behavior. Hvaldimir was taken from the ocean and trained by humans to do tricks like fetching objects in exchange for food, he elaborated. Yet this endearing trick has drawn a great deal of attention from tourists who want to play with Hvaldimir. There's even a video of him playing fetch with a rugby ball. Obviously, people have gone crazy for Hvaldimir, and the tweet received tons of comments from people in awe of the beluga. "How didn't this break Twitter? I'll never know," one person wrote. "My faith in humanity is shaken," another said. "Whatever this is, I love it. And belugas, I love belugas." Yet, this popularity is actually one of the reasons why Hvaldimir is at risk. The first threat to Hvaldimir was starvation. You see, after removing his harness, Hvaldimir's researchers released him back into the wild, where he settled down at the coastal town of Hammerfest. Presumably, since he'd been so dependent on humans feeding him, sadly, the beluga couldn't catch enough fish to stay healthy. That's when Norway's Fisheries Directorate stepped in. The organization set up a program in collaboration with the Norwegian Orca Survey to both feed Hvaldimir and monitor him to make sure he didn't starve. Thankfully, the beautiful beluga recovered, with the organization later classifying him as a free-swimming whale. But it seems many didn't agree with this definition, especially since Hvaldimir was sourcing his food from more, shall we say, local sources. Actually, Hvaldimir set up home at a fish farm where he could eat as much as he wanted. This wasn't ideal either. A whale eating his way through a fisherman's products poses its own set of problems. Arguably, the beluga's most dangerous behavior is his friendliness, though. Sounds like a contradiction, but Hvaldimir's affection for humans puts him at risk. The conservation website, One Whale, reported how unregulated tourists were flocking to meet him, which isn't good for a wild creature. But more than that, it meant that there were more vehicles in the water. Those could be just as much a danger to the beluga, however accidentally. It wouldn't be the first time that Hvaldimir's been on the wrong end of a propeller. That's right, Hvaldimir has been seen with wounds that likely came from a boat propeller, in addition to injuries from fishing hooks and other dangerous objects, presumably from getting too close to humans. It's caused something of a rift between conservationists. Some believe he should swim completely free, while others think he needs protection. Filmmaker Regina Crosby is an example of the latter. Crosby lives in Norway part-time, and when she heard about the local beluga star, she decided his story would make a great short film. Yet she told the BBC that she left disappointed. "Nothing was what I thought it was," she said. "I thought it was going to be a happy story about a whale escaping from the Russian military. I thought it was going to be done in 1 week," Crosby continued. "But as time went on, no one was doing anything for this whale, and so she took it upon herself to help Hvaldimir." But how could she do that without keeping him in captivity? Activist Rick O'Barry had an idea, so the filmmaker contacted him to get his perspective. O'Barry had gone from dolphin trainer to campaigner against such practices. He even starred in an environmentalist documentary called The Cove, which won him an Oscar. He flew to Norway at Crosby's request and visited Hvaldimir, who'd been suffering from a boat-inflicted injury at the time. The expert considered it an emergency situation and racked his brains to find a solution. It turned out Norway's natural waterways were the answer. "My thought was to swim him to a fjord," O'Barry explained. "Since fjords run inland, it wouldn't be too difficult to cut one off from the ocean and make a self-contained swimming sanctuary where authorities could safeguard Hvaldimir without outright capturing him." One Whale approached the Norwegian government about repurposing an unused fjord, not only for Hvaldimir but perhaps other wildlife in similar dire straits. The fjord in question is in a small stretch of water. It's actually more than a mile long and half a mile wide. It's what one whale calls an enormous open water marine wildlife reserve. Ideally, it would be netted off from the ocean and manned by on-site staff who could cater to the fjord's inhabitants. And thanks to some interested financial backers, Crosby said, right now it's very much a green light. Of course, there are those who disagree with the concept, Wig said. As far as Norway is concerned, he's a free-living whale. I think the situation now is the best one, but if someone can convince me otherwise, I'm open-minded. If there's a good plan, I think the government would consider it. The idea has people divided, but for now, Crosby and other interested conservationists are keeping Hvaldimir company at the fish farm he currently inhabits whenever he can. Was the Beluga ever really a Russian spy? That's for you to decide. Perhaps we'll never know. But hopefully the Norwegian government will make the right choice by our cetacean comrade and give Hvaldimir the life he deserves.